This is the introduction to our first module, which is about what is personality. And as I said in the course introduction, we humans have always been curious about who we are and how to explain ourselves in comparison to other people, where we're similar and where we're different. And we've tried to figure out an organized way to understand ourselves and understand others, whether it started with the Greeks or is with the Big Five or with the Myers Briggs or any number of ways we try to understand each other. Personality theory began in philosophy and moved to psychology in the late 1800s, early 1900s, when psychology began as a field. And it moved simply from observation of behavior to more scientific testing. So there's been a lot of development since the Greeks about this idea of what is personality. We're going to take not a psychologist's view or a diagnostic view, but a practitioner's view. We're going to explore what personality is and how to describe someone's personality, their personality type, through the Myers Briggs Type Indicator, nicknamed MBTI. I'm sure you've heard about it. It's used by 89 of the Fortune 100. What's in it for you? Greater self awareness, better self management, a model and tool for understanding and better relating with others, and insight into individual and team management that can encourage and support better performance, avoiding and resolving conflicts, communicating more effectively, better problem solving, higher performance teams. So let's get started. We're going to do a quick review of what personality is, and then we'll move on to what is personality type.
Let's start by defining personality. The American Psychological Association, known to its friends as APA, defines personality as this. It refers to individual differences in characteristic patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Now, personality is both the individual parts, like whether you're extroverted or introverted, but also the sum of your parts, whether using Myers Briggs language, you're an ENTP or an ISTJ. So each of those, introverted, extroverted, and your whole type, have particular meaning and predict certain kinds of patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Now, it's important to know that personality is, at least in part, a trait. It's inherited through your genes, but it's also developed through your experiences. So it is both nature and nurture. It is a predisposition or preference. It's a lot like being right-handed. So while I genetically inherited a preference for being right-handed, it does not mean that I can't use my left hand, flex out of being right-handed, if you will, if I need to. And so it's important to know that no matter what your personality, your behavior, what you actually do, may override your personality preferences in real life. In fact, that happens all the time. The history of personality begins with the Greeks, at least as far as recorded history is concerned, and probably long before that. We humans have always been curious about our differences and how to manage them. The Greeks had basically a four-type model. So red, choleric, was very action-oriented. Melancholic was idea-oriented. Phlegmatic, peace-oriented. And sanguine was people-oriented. While there was a lot of work that was done between the Greeks and Carl Jung in 1921, Carl Jung is the first to talk about psychological types in a more scientific way. Jung's personality types, look at the second graphic, basically used introversion and extroversion, thinking and feeling, as the beginning of his two types, his four types: cool blue, fiery red, sunshine yellow, and earth green. Now, between Carl Jung and 1981, when the Big Five model was accepted, Allport and Odbert worked in the 30s, Cattell in the 40s, Toops and Kristall in the 1960s. But the big development really began in 1970s when the National Institutes of Health and the University of Michigan teams developed the Big Five model that's in use today, and that was not accepted as a standard of practice until 1981. Where, you might ask, does the Myers-Briggs fit in? Well, the Myers-Briggs, developed by a mother-daughter team before psychology was even a profession, was first introduced in 1943, and it's based on Jung's work on psychological types with some additions. The instrument, the MBTI self-assessment, the research version, and the first manual was published in 1962.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying this free lesson from the University of Maryland's Project Management Center for Excellence. If you want to check out more lessons just like this one, click the link in the description below where you'll be able to go to our website on executive project management. There, you can find edX courses, professional short courses where you can learn from an instructor like me, as well as request custom team training for you and your organization. All right, let's get back to the lesson and I'll see you at the end.
Let me take just a minute to give you the little more detail on the Big Five. It's not a topic of this course, but it's something you should be familiar with, at least at the top line level. It's made up of 5 elements. They are these, and the acronym to help you remember them is OCEAN, OCEAN, standing for open-mindedness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, which is a psychological term for emotional resilience. Now, each of these, just as it does in the Myers-Briggs, runs along a continuum. Open-mindedness goes from closed-minded to being open to new experiences. Conscientiousness runs from disorganized to very conscientious. Extroversion, the one we're probably most familiar with, goes from extroverted to introverted. Agreeableness from disagreeable to agreeable. And neuroticism from calm and relaxed to nervous and high-strung. I personally was very skeptical the first time when I was working as a CFO, ran into personality type. It seemed like a nice cocktail party game, but nothing very serious. I've come to understand that it's really quite useful and has some good science behind it. This is the part that really changed my mind, and let me just read it to you. The essence of the Myers-Briggs theory, the personality theory, is that much seemingly random variation in behavior is actually quite orderly and consistent, being due to basic differences in the way individuals prefer to use their perception and their judgment. In other words, how they get data and how they make decisions. So you might ask, what's in it for me of understanding personality and personality type? Well, let me share the highlights. First, understanding your personality type is one of the key tools for greater self-awareness. In prior courses, we've talked about how valuable self-awareness is and how critical it is to becoming a great leader. And it gives you an opportunity to be much better informed in how you manage yourself. It's also a model or a tool for understanding others. So the Myers-Briggs, which is what we're going to focus on in this course, helps you engage well with others, avoiding or resolving conflict more effectively, communicating better, and even doing better problem solving by using the structure of the Myers-Briggs and capitalizing on the differences among people. Understanding Myers-Briggs, you can build better teams, and you can manage high-performance teams as well. It's also the dominant workplace self-assessment for personality, and it's used by 89 of the Fortune 100.
Now it's time to recap briefly the big ideas of the first lesson, what is personality? As I said, it's been of interest to human beings forever. And it was really first to understand ourselves and then to understand others. Psychology as a field of study began in philosophy and became psychology in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It can be both diagnostic and descriptive, although the Myers-Briggs is simply descriptive, nothing diagnostic about it. Understanding your personality and personality type is a key part of self-awareness. It's really who you are, and it's pretty trait-like, although some of it is developed through your experiences in life. If you will, personality is like your factory installed software. It sets up what you were wired or what you prefer to do.
If you're curious and want to explore more, I highly recommend this book. I've given you the link at Amazon, although you can get it at other bookstores. Personality by Daniel Nettle, What Makes You the Way You Are. I'd like to also recommend the NOBA Project, which makes psychological resources available for free. And these are at an academic level. I've listed two. One is the history of psychology, and the other is a module on personality traits. And I've also provided at the bottom a link to an online free Big Five personality test, should you be curious.
Hey there, did you enjoy that lesson as much as I did? If you did, go ahead and give us a like. If you want to see another one, go ahead and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, put them below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Moreover, is there somebody in your life who really needs this lesson right now? If so, go ahead and share it with them. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Now, we look forward to seeing you in the next lesson where you can learn even more from the University of Maryland Project Management Center for Excellence. Thanks so much.